Welcome to fourth grade. Hi, I'm Mrs. Crete. This is my 16th year teaching, and I've been blessed to be at Norrisville all 16 of those years. I've taught first grade for many years, second grade 1 year, and this is my third year in fourth grade. I have 2 daughters, a chocolate lab, and a husband. Just recently moved super close to school. So excited to say that my children are also going to be Jaguars. My oldest is a first grader, and my youngest will be joining us as a Jaguar next year in kindergarten. It's going to be a wonderful year.
Hello, Norrisville families. Thank you so much for joining us for our virtual back to school night. My name is Miss Frankenhauser. I have been a teacher for 6 years. During that time, I have taught 4th and 5th grade. I love my golden retriever Hudson. I love all things outdoors, and I love to teach. Obviously, this school year is starting off very differently than any of our previous years, and I know that we can hold on tight and we will navigate through this time together. I am really excited to get to know your students, and we are going to persevere through all the things that we've been doing and experiencing. I'm very thankful to be working with such amazing families, and I am thankful for all the support and encouragement and patience that you have shown us as we are navigating the unknown as well. So here's to an amazing and ever improving 2021 school year.
When we think about our RELA instruction, that includes our reading and our writing. During this digital time at home, reading and writing will alternate on your child's schedule. Reading and writing are both in a workshop format. And for your student, that means that each lesson starts with a mini lesson or a short time for the teacher to give students something to think about as a reader or a writer. And the main portion of the lesson is when students go off and do that actual reading and writing and applying those skills or strategies independently as teachers conference and check in with students as they're working. That workshop time ends with a share and a closure before wrapping up for the day. Social studies. We're going to begin the year with social studies. When we switch over sometime in October, science will begin. You can see our units listed on the screen. That will be the order that the units are taught for social studies. Science pacing may look a little different once we begin science. We're using math and vision. We're using a combination of those resources found both online and in your student's book. One thing that we want to encourage students to be working on, especially early on in the year, is developing that fluency with all facts, addition, subtraction, but especially multiplication. It's going to be crucial that they develop some type of fluency with those multiplication facts as we move deeper into our units within our math program. Some tips might be to grab some flashcards. There's great apps and games out there to help build those basic facts that will support their learning that we're doing in the classroom with larger numbers that they'll need to have some foundation for.
So daily expectations. We are going to have a pretty consistent schedule from Monday to Thursday, and students are, expected to join in on the class meeting, log their attendance, and then use that schedule they have to navigate from course to course. And, using or being in the right course should direct them to the content they are responsible for viewing and completing independently. And some of that comes from watching a video, completing a task, a written response. And once they finish that content or materials, they should be joining the flex group. Eventually that will change a little bit, and I'll go into that a little bit more later. But that's pretty much what, navigating each content is going to look like. And then basically just repeating that process over and over throughout the day, and then joining in on the final closure for whatever we have planned. Troubleshooting. Talk about a life skill. So teaching them to troubleshoot while they're digital students really starts from, it's not solving every problem individually, it's teaching them to think about how to solve most problems. So if you can encourage your child, hey mom, hey dad, hey grandma, hey uncle, this isn't working, instead of swooping in and reloading the page for them, try to encourage them to think about the steps that we as adults are going to take when we're troubleshooting something. So make sure they're using Chrome. That tends to be the most familiar and friendly with the things we're trying to do. Restarting a process is not telling them one time. It's the idea of, if something doesn't work, don't keep clicking the same link. Maybe exit out and reload. Getting a page that doesn't initially have information on it, refreshing. It's not us telling them exactly how to solve the problem. It's starting to train them to solve more than the problem they're facing right there and then. And this, again, will follow them as a digital citizen. So just the, attempts and reattempts, things like that. But ultimately, really, like, exiting out of your whole internet and coming back in sometimes solves the problem. And just telling them that they can try that, retry to get to a class meeting or whatever it is. So we're definitely all doing this together. So hopefully we can all increase this as we move on. Being digitally responsible is going to come down to the conversations that you have with your student. We are functioning obviously in a very different platform than a classroom, and there are some things that we really need to encourage students to do on their own by helping them understand that they are responsible for their usage and things on the computer. So that means, getting on to your class meeting that starts at 9:30 does not mean you are powering up your computer at 9:30. It means, you should be waiting in the lobby, and that's not on you as parents and guardians. That is on your fourth grader should know, like, hey, I have to be somewhere at 9:30. I can't start the process at 9:31. And we've talked about them. We are working with them to help them understand that, that's something that we are all growing in. And then there's things like the chat bar. I personally, and Mrs. Cree as well, we like to have the chat bar up because we like to ask, questions that every student can respond in the chat. And we can't have every student respond vocally because the audio is jumbled and it becomes nonsense. So, we want that up. And we have some students that are absolutely trying to abuse that and, being very silly, throwing pictures up in there. And it's really hard if we want to keep that element, we have to respect it. So I really encourage you to talk with your student and ask them, hey, how are you using the chat bar and are you being responsible? Eventually, if we don't see if there's something perpetuating, we would have to contact you guys. But sometimes it's just, these are young kids and they're learning that, like, oh, I'm in math class. Like, this isn't just a class meeting. This isn't just a fun time to talk. I'm in math, and that's not the time to be casually dropping a random, off-topic question into the chat bar. So just, things that we're all learning together. We've had, like learning that, digital tools, muting and sharing screens, raising hands, like try to walk through this process with your student because, I personally had students already try to mute the whole conversation, and that mutes me as a teacher. So like just sitting down and saying like, hey, that like this isn't for you and this is what you should be doing. And because it's going to take all of us growing our digital citizens to make this as smooth as possible. So that's a conversation that, everybody should be having with their student. And then lastly, the last thing I want to talk about is just screen presence. They shouldn't be playing with the camera, touching or smudging it, bringing toys or pets into the screen. They shouldn't be laying with their head down or feet up unless they are said, directed that, hey guys, this is reading time. I want you to get comfortable, get comfy. There's a certain way they should be presenting on screen, and that's as if they're sitting in a classroom. And I know that's going to take training and the increase of stamina, but there's all things that can be helpful if there's a conversation, and we're trying to do our best to encourage that, but we definitely know that it takes a village and a team to make all these things happen. So thank you so much for your support, and we look forward to growing together.